Lisa Ingram, and welcome back to pottery class. This is the last part of our mug project for our social distance pottery class. This is session 4, and we're just going to talk a little bit today about decorating. So if you chose to do your decorations at home with stroke and coat, there's just a few instructions that you need to follow, and then you can get creative from there. And this is the really interesting part, because this is where everybody's mug goes in a different direction and becomes really unique to their creator. So first of all, just a note to say this handle is very fragile. So you don't want to pick it up by the handle, you don't want to scoot it around by the handle. So if you want to pick it up, just use 2 hands and gently pick it up by the body of the cup. I also don't pick it up with 2 fingers by the rim, because that can snap the rim. So you just want to keep it very supported, because this is just dirt right now. And mine has a good bit of moisture left in it. If I squeeze on it, it won't change shape, but when you see in a minute I carve it, it's not going to be coming off in dust. It will be leather hard, so it's going to have some soft clay coming out of it. So I just wrapped this up. I glazed it yesterday, and then wrapped it up so that it kept its moisture. After the glaze dried, I wrapped it with plastic, and then it's still soft enough for me to carve today. So to glaze, you just want to remember to do 3 coats of glaze. You can layer colors, you can mix your colors, but I did the whole inside, 3 coats. This is silver lining. I also did silver lining on the handle, and then I sponge painted. So I took a little sponge, I got it wet, squeezed all the water out so that it was just a nice soft dampness. And then I dipped it in my colors and I sponge painted it all over this with Sunkissed, Caribbean Blue, Pinky Swear, and Orchid. So, oh, I think I have some Leapin' Lizard in there. So this is going to be a very lighter version, and then the kiln will fire these colors into their bright final form. So your colors won't look quite like what they're going to look like fired. My silver lining, it looks very white right now. My orchid looks very white, but when they fire, those colors come out. So don't be afraid of using your colors or putting this on top of a darker clay. This is a brown speckled clay, so you will have some little spots coming through to add to your design. But you do want to be generous with your clay, and especially on the inside to keep it food safe, you want to do full coverage. So when I glazed with my daughter, I kept telling her to go back and find those little brown spots and cover them with glaze. If you see a brown spot, it means that it got no glaze when it's supposed to get 3 coats. So keep going if you see brown spots. All right, so at this point I could stop, I could put it in the kiln, and it would be food safe and fired and ready to go. But I wanted to show you another decorating technique for this project called Sgraffito. And so this is optional. You can watch and decide if you want to do this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to carve through the glaze on this cup and bring out some designs. So what I started with, I have just a really simple little sketch right here. I just sketched some flowers with some little swirls coming out of it. And then I took my pencil and I sketched the flowers out on my cup with the pencil. So pencil marks will burn out completely. I tried to use a very dull pencil so that if I got a mark in a spot that I didn't like, I could just leave that. You don't have to erase it, it's going to disappear. But I tried to make my marks without damaging my glaze, so that if I didn't like the mark, I could just go back. Because once you carve, that clay is removed and you can't really put it back or repair the glaze. So our thought process here will be, if you make a mistake when you're carving, you're gonna make it work for your design, and just keep going and make it part of it. So I put a few flowers, just really free-flowing flowers around the edge. You can do, there's all kinds of things that you can do, but it doesn't have to be anything hard. you can just do repeating lines. So if you just do line, 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 like this, and then underneath it do another line offset, then you've got a pattern going on. It's not going to look boring like this because you're carving in clay, so it's going to have dimension to it. Then you could also start to do, you could do little raindrops. I thought about doing raindrops on mine. You can do leaves. I thought about doing clouds on mine, but I decided I wanted something sunnier. The clouds would be something fairly straightforward. And you could paint a blue patch and then carve a cloud in it. So that's up to you, whatever you decide you want to do. So I have a little carving tool that I'll put a carving tool similar. I have some that are rounded, some that are angled like this. I'll put that in your kit. And then I have a little brush that you can brush away the carvings that you carve off. One more note is if you do get glaze on the bottom, like I have a little spot right there, I do have to go back and wipe every single piece so that they don't stick to the kiln shelf. So if you can help me out this time by cleaning off the base and anything that is reaching the bottom from the sides, that will protect your cup from sticking to the kiln and help me out as I load the kiln and do these last firings. Okay, so here we go. I have a nice little foam board right here. You can use a towel or just anything soft to protect your cup. I'm gonna do some carving. I'll pull this in a little bit. And I've got my little guidelines, so I'm just gonna follow those. I'm gonna make these really free-flowing lines. Just kind of fun and organic. So I just try and as I remove clay, put it aside so that it doesn't accidentally reattach to my cup. My clay is pretty soft, so it's coming up pretty easily. Here we go. And I am being careful not to cut through my mug. So these cuts only have to be deep enough to get you that pretty contrast between the clay and the glaze. And I'm just kind of working around the seam right here, trying to avoid it a little bit. So I'm getting that flower taken care of. The nice thing about Sgraffito is you can do a base shape and then you can come back and build on it until you like it. And I'm hitting most of my pencil marks, but definitely, you know, not 100%. So it looks like I need another little petal up top. So I don't have one drawn in, but I can just come in and add one to make that look a little bit more complete. So there's my first flower, and then I've got more drawn over here. So I'm going to pause the video right here and finish that and then show you the next step. So now I have carved out these, I guess, 4 flowers that I initially drew out with my pencil, and I see some cool opportunities for me to come back and accentuate them more. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit more accenting in the petals. So I can come and do some diagonal lines. I can do a single line down the middle. I can do a double line down the middle. And I think I'm going to start with the single line. That's about how much space I have. It's just enough for like a crease in that petal. And so then you see how that design develops with that line. And if the petal curves, then you can curve the line. They don't have to be straight. And I start the line, I try to start with light pressure, go a little bit deeper, and then end with light pressure to make the line start thin, get thicker in the middle, and then end thin. So then I can go around and do that to all the flowers. And the nice thing about this little paintbrush is it can get in all those little ridges and get out the little clay crumbs, as I call them, that get in there. And I really do try to work clean and continually get rid of the clay that I am pulling up off of this, because you just don't want your waste impeding your designs. And so you may do any kind of pattern or wording or imagery, and you get to decide when you're done. And one tip that I have is just don't overdo it. Less is more. You don't want to carve the inside because that's where we need the glaze to keep these easy to clean, to keep it food safe. So don't do the rim and don't do the interior. Just carve here on the exterior. And I've almost got these lines done. It's looking very floral. There you go. So from here, I'm just gonna let it dry. I'm gonna call it a day, and I'm just gonna let it dry out and go in the kiln. So whenever you finish, just keep it in a draft-free area. You can cover it if you have the air on in your house or fans with a plastic bag or something of the like, and then return it to me and we'll get these fired. So thank you for watching and good luck with your designs. I hope you had a lot of fun, and reach out if you have any questions. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye.